Not true, Joe.
Well, good afternoon. This is Joe Garland. I'm in New York, and we have Amanda Nelson and Lisa Marie Potter down in Mesa, Arizona, where Amanda was kind enough to point out that the temperature is 70 degrees as opposed to like the 38 or 39 it is in New York, and who knows how low it is in where Lisa Marie is from, way up north. And we're here to talk about their book. The reason they're in Mesa, Arizona, is because they're plugging their book. They went to a book show over the weekend down there, and a couple of days ago, Amanda did a post saying people I know asked for a copy of the book, but I'm trying to make some money on this book, so I'd like people to
Yeah.
buy the book. So I said, well, wait a minute, why don't I talk to these two authors who are co-authors, and I don't know the extent to which either one will disavow what the other did. But the
It's
bottom
an
line
easy
is, I said,
scapegoat.
well, and here's the book, by the way, there it is. Well, Men in Books Aren't Better. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not so adept at this. It is a really cool cover, by the way. I really like this cover.
Thank you.
Um, with the familiar Las Vegas symbol. And so my initial question for them is, why should someone spend money to buy this book? Um,
Um,
Because
so
it's awesome.
yeah, I know because it's
So
awesome.
I'll say I got it for free because I read it twice, an early draft and an almost ready draft. But then I went out and I paid good money for this, and I'm happy to have done so. But my question is, some guy in the street says, you say check it out, and you say, okay, here's why you should buy the book. So now I turn it over to you guys.
So the first thing would be it's a gender swap Pretty Woman, and Pretty Woman was a classic. And I know that younger generations don't know that reference, but for us older generations, Pretty Woman was a classic. It's still a classic. Everybody knows, and that love story swept everybody off their feet. And pretty much this is the gender swap version of that. And so if you loved that fake dating became real kind of thing, this is the book for you. But there is a newer version, The Wedding Date.
Yes, yes.
So you want to talk about that?
Well, the wedding date, okay, that was with Deborah Messenger. Is it?
Deborah
Can't remember her
Messing.
name. Yes, Messing, that's the one. Anyways, that one was based America and England, and it was all the confusion, it was all the romance, it was all the drama and everything that you expect in a typical rom-com. And it's definitely one of our favorites. And there's a kind of mix between the Pretty Woman and
The
Wedding
Wedding
Date
Date.
in this book. And obviously, I'm from the United Kingdom originally. I'm from Nottingham, England, and Amanda is from America. And so we've got some of that
I'm sorry,
dynamic.
Lisa Marie, where are you from in the UK?
I'm from Nottingham,
Nottingham. Okay.
Robin Hood country.
No, I know. It appears I'm working on a Pride and Prejudice book, and Nottingham shows up as a way
Yeah,
station on a
yeah,
post wagon, a post carriage from London to Derbyshire. Anyway, I'm
yes.
sorry.
Yep, no,
No,
you're fine.
very good.
And so you'll see, different. I mean, because like Molly, her character is written by me, and the chapters of Jared are
We'll
written
get
by
into that.
Amanda.
We'll get
Yes.
into that.
And so, you've got a mixture of those things in there. And
So those are the tropes that you love.
yes,
This is the book for you.
Okay, let me kind of fill in a little bit of the details because you guys skirted around it. Basically, Molly
sorry.
is up in Seattle
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
and is a successful detective story writer or
Yes.
mysteries.
Yep.
And she has said, how hard can it be to write a romance? So she picks up
Yep.
the phone, talks to her editor, said, hey, and the editor says, fine, I'll send you an advance. When can you do it? Oh, it shouldn't take long, gets a deadline. And then she's trying to work on it, says, this romance gig is not what I thought it was. It's a little bit more complicated.
Well, she gets her heart broken,
Yes. And
and it
then
becomes really
and
hard.
then she says, well, how can I do research? Now, I assume she doesn't kill people for her other stories, but that's another story.
No, but she's interviewed people on death row and
Yeah.
different things
Right.
like that.
But
Yeah.
so she decides to hook up with an escort service. And to be very clear, because you make it very clear, sex is not involved here. This is
Yeah.
not Julia Roberts on wandering the streets of Beverly Hills or wherever she was wandering.
Right. Yes.
This was very clear that this was like a high-end
companion.
high end, make your ex jealous at his wedding for having dumped you type of
Yes.
arrangement. But this is a more complicated one because she's really doing research. And so Jared, who's in New York, makes all the plans and sets everything up so they go to Las Vegas. So the bulk of the book takes place in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So it has a lot of Las Vegas stuff going on, and it is a romance, so we kind of know where it's going to go at the end. But I just wanted to set up, that's the basic premise. That's the unusual premise into which you've put the various tropes of
Yes.
of the story. I did not know until you just mentioned it that Lisa Marie wrote the
Yes.
Molly.
Molly chapters, and Amanda wrote the Jared chapters. Okay, and I think this is a rather useful observation, which is I never knew. I never figured out who was doing what in this book in terms of the authorship. So that in the sense it makes it a seamless discussion of the characters. And if you are a writer, it can be difficult to have multiple versions, but I guess the fact that each of you is different gave it a little bit of extra twist in terms of the mind of it. And look, I liked the book and I gave it a 5-star review. And one of the points I made was it's familiar territory in large part, as all romances are, the limited universe of tropes, but it's very well written, and that makes all the difference of why this book, if someone goes on the street and says, why should I read this book? It's a really nice story, really well told. And the characters are complicated. That was the basic reason. So it's a well-written story about familiar tropes, has a couple of twists, a couple of turns in it, as they must. But I guess that's the reason to read this book. Anything else you want to say about the book before we get to the more mundane stuff about how it came about?
No, I think you've covered everything.
Yeah.
You've got it.
Okay. Again, a lot of it is set in Las Vegas, and I know that I've read a number of independent books, or this is actually not an independent book, a number of books where Las Vegas shows up as a main venue. I've never been there, but there we have it. But I then wanted to ask you this: how did you guys get together?
Oh,
or is that a separate trope we can work with?
I know.
Getting together.
So,
so how did you end up
collaborating? It started with so we met in church, and we're huge Twilight fans. So it started with me. I read Twilight in a book club and loved it. And I was basically forcing her. I'm like, you have to read it. You have to read it. And I finally gave her my copy and got her to read it. She fell in love, and then she read New Moon. We ended up, this was back when they were first coming out, like Eclipse wasn't even out. And Stephenie Meyer was doing the Eclipse prom at ASU. And at the time, Lisa Marie lived in Arizona. And I asked her, I go, do you want to crash it? Because we didn't have tickets. And so we gate crashed the prom, and we stayed there for 2 hours until the lady at the front finally said, fine, just go in. And
wait, hold on. You gate crashed what?
The Stephenie Meyer's, she did an Eclipse prom. So it was a whole event around the release of Eclipse where she was signing books.
Now, you said you guys were old, and you guys were like kids.
Yeah, we were too old. Yes.
I watched a movie recently with Kristen Stewart in it, and I had no idea that Kristen Stewart was a big deal. I was like, what? And I've heard of Twilight anyway, so people know what Twilight is. So it was like a special event. It
was a special event to host the release of Eclipse, the third book. And it
bonded us together as friends for sure.
Yeah.
You know?
And at that point, we had reread the first 3 books so much that before book 4 came out, we had our own assumptions of what it was going to be. And it came out and it was completely different from what we thought. And so Lisa Marie says, she goes, we basically had a whole story in our mind of what book 4 should have been. We could probably write our own book. And so she, for my birthday, gave me a journal and said, okay, I'll write a page, you write a page, and we'll go back and forth. And that's how it started.
Okay.
And
so that was and that's a fairly common thing for people to write in fan fiction.
Yeah.
To say.
But actually, it wasn't fan fiction. So it wasn't actually book 4. It was a whole new story.
Yeah.
No, I understand that. When I say fan fiction, I've written variations of Austen, but I've also written sequels of Austen where the entire story, the background is the same. But then all of a sudden I take a point, okay, here's what happens next, and it's a completely different story. And that's what I mean. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a variation is one thing, but a sequel is where you take the story, and this is interesting that you took it in this piecemeal fashion of back and forth of where you thought the story would go. And in the end, where did you end up?
So we ended up with a completely different story altogether. It had time travel and everything, and it's our book baby that we had to shelve. Like, so now it has nothing to do with Twilight. It's completely different with
Yeah.
completely
Wait, I'm
different.
confused. Did you finish the collaboration on the Twilight book?
That was just, we never actually wrote that one down. That was just one that we talked about. But when we actually started writing, it was a completely different story. It was had time travel and things like that.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with Twilight.
Elevated beings and things like that.
Yeah, it
So
was-
And so did you finish? Well,
we
you
did.
finish
We
that
finished
book?
that.
we finished it.
There's
And what
changes.
happened to that?
Well, we
So-
shelved that for a while.
Well,
Okay.
we took classes, we queried it. It wasn't getting any traction. We finally got some good feedback from a book coach, someone we met on Twitter, well, Twitter at the time. And she basically said it needs this, and this. And so we shelved it. And Lisa Marie suggested, well, we're both Pretty Woman fans. We like The Wedding Date. Let's write our own version of that. And so that's how Men in Books Aren't Better kind of evolved from there.
And when we complete this series of the Plus One, then we're going to go.
We're going to go back to that.
and revisit that book.
Oh, that old encrusted book.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
No, and I'll say that again, this is a compliment. I think that I did not make in reading the novel, I did not make a connection that, oh, this is a switch on Pretty Woman, which being older than you, as I mentioned, I don't know that I kind of know bits and pieces of it.
Yeah.
I know George Costanza is in the thing, but
Yes.
other than that, I don't know a heck of a lot about it. But I'm obviously not. I'm older than your target audience. But my point is simply, I did not say, "Oh, this is an interesting twist on Pretty Woman. Oh, I like this."
Yeah.
I just, again, I took it as a completely independent project, beginning it and seeing what happened. I found the premise quite interesting. So you work on this book, you send it around. Somehow, as I mentioned, you had a short story up there that I read and I enjoyed, and I got hooked into it with Amanda on that, and then I volunteered to take a look at an earlier draft. And because parts of it take place in New York, I made particular comments about New York. The logistics of New York, and then it disappeared for a while. I was following Amanda, I guess both of you on what was then Twitter.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you announced that it had been picked up. So Wild Rose Press has published it. First, could you tell me what Wild Rose is?
Yeah, so it's a small publisher that so we do have an agent. So we queried and we have an agent, Nicole Payne at Cops Literary.
I skipped a step. I should have said you got the agent first. Okay.
Yes, we got the agent first. And she found the Wild Rose Press, and the editor, Leanne Morgina, who we adore.
Yes.
Really liked the story. And we even have a second book, which she picked up as well. So we actually have 2 contracts with them. And she saw potential in it. She was fantastic. And they're small. They will do our cover, they do our editor, and they give us a marketing package, which basically tells you these are companies that are reputable that you can work with. And these are things that have worked for other Wild Rose Press authors. But most of the marketing is on us. But we didn't have to pay for the printing. We didn't have to pay for the editor. We didn't have to pay for a cover design. So
as I said, I'm sorry, I'm trying to. I figured out how to make it so it's not reversed, but other than that, as I say, it's a very nice cover. And I remember when you posted your cover reveal, I thought that was a really nice cover.
Yes, we're very excited about that. And our agent has been great with that as far as making sure that our cover was what we wanted. And because if you haven't dealt with a traditional publisher, some of them don't give you a lot of say in what it's going to be. Sometimes you just get to choose an artist, and then you get what you get, and that's it. And there's no changes from there. And we were really lucky that our agent was great in making sure that, are you happy with that? You know, we went back and forth a little bit
Yeah.
to make sure that we were happy with what we got, which I don't know if they would have been that amicable to changing anything had we not had Nicole. So
Well,
we're very
I'll just
grateful.
say I'm not, you know, the predominant covers in this genre are really cartoonish.
Yes.
All these splashy colors, and you know, if you go to the bookstore and you look, you see like they all look very much the same. But I understand that's an indicator. Oh, this is a romance. It's a
Yeah.
man-woman romance, or it's a woman-woman, or a gay romance, or whatever. But that's the come on in, take a look at it. I much prefer yours. It's a more subtle, more attractive look than the cartoony things.
Yeah, I feel like it
So
looks
I
a little
do. That's why I said I
classic.
really did like your cover when it popped out.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
it feels classic, right? Like very, it's
No, it does.
understated
It does have a
classy.
yeah. It does have a classic look, and it gives you enough, you know, of the two characters of Molly and Jared, in Vegas. So I do like. I say a thumbs up on Elena. Stars in the hearts, and it's a nice cover.
Very
So
good.
then you get. So then, what was the timeline between getting final approval with Wild Rose and getting it actually published? Because I remember you had the
Yes.
Yeah.
publication date coming for an extended period of time.
Yes. So the Wild Rose Press doesn't give you a publication date until you are through with your edits with your editor,
Okay.
which was good because we apparently didn't know the English language very well as far as grammar and punctuation.
It has changed over the years.
Yes. It's
Yes.
changed over the
I
years.
don't look, I don't remember it being that bad.
No.
Oh,
And when I
Oh,
say that
oh,
advisedly, because I've read books, I've read independent books that people sent to me before
Yeah.
publication, and I'm shocked at how people have difficulties with commas and periods. Okay. And
Yeah,
I'll note as an aside, there's this new trend of saying we don't need no stinking quotation marks. I've
Yes.
seen several books. I've seen at least two traditionally published books this year
Yeah.
that do away with quotation marks.
which
And
I do not like.
like Sally Rooney's Normal People has no quotation marks in the whole
I
thing,
heard
and
that,
it's
yeah.
loaded with dialogue. So it's like a trend. I don't know, but you know, when I read it, I'm very particular about commas and periods and stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice anything particularly difficult about it. I would have pointed it out. So, but
Oh,
I don't know
thank
at what stage I was in the process in terms
Yeah.
of
Yeah. It's
um,
our agent is fantastic at making sure she actually will give us like a list of things that are wrong, and then she says, go fix
Oh,
it through the
The
manuscript.
editor.
Oh, sorry, the editor.
Editor.
The editor, sorry. And so it was a learning process for us.
Mhm.
So the first book took a long time because it was a learning curve trying to understand how she worked, how we would work with her, and being able to implement that throughout the manuscript. But book two, we're almost done with editing. Like it's been super fast.
It's been a breeze.
It's
Yeah.
been a
She
breeze.
has taught us so much.
So much.
Yeah.
well,
Terrific.
it's so much in terms of the technical stuff, so much in terms of the grammatical stuff, so much in terms of the substantive stuff, the style stuff. Which is all three of those.
All three. All three.
Probably less of our style though.
Yeah,
She's
less of
let-
the style.
yeah,
she's very good at letting us keep our voice.
yeah.
You know, she makes sure of that.
Mhm.
But yeah, certain things that, I mean, it took me forever to get rid of the double spacing behind a period because that's what I grew
But, you know,
up
you
with.
can do a search and replace for that.
Yes, I had to do that to our first manuscript, and so that was a hard thing. And just little things like M dashes are used differently, semicolons are frowned on, just things, trends that we weren't aware of. And so she was very good about teaching us how, like, okay, this is what's going on now, and this is how you use them, and things
Well,
like
and-
Yeah,
that.
I hate semicolons.
Yeah.
I don't think they belong in novels.
Yeah.
But I overuse M dashes, and I've been
Oh,
Yes.
observed
okay.
that my use of M dashes is quite
Yeah.
extreme.
Yeah, guilty.
But you know,
Well, and each
that's a style
individual
choice.
publisher also has the way that they want certain things formatted within a
Very
manuscript.
true.
And so, you know, even if you follow what you think is a standard pattern, sometimes that publisher has their way. I mean, like for instance, in our book, the text messages, that is specifically how that particular publisher wants them to be formatted. And, you know, yet you'll see in another book it's done differently. So, you know, you have to make sure that you're following the
guidelines for
yeah.
your publisher.
Yeah.
But then, no, I understand that. I have
Mhm.
one, I'll just
Yes.
promote Word because I often, when other people send me up, running out of time here. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
We're at 10 minutes to go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a question of formatting a style. There's no style that is inherently better. It's just the particular style that they want to use, and it can be a pain in the ass to do it. But with you using Word, you can make it like that. It takes care of them all at the once. So that's another story. So let's talk about your tour. So you get the book published, and then you had a marketing pack. They gave you a marketing suggestion, and then you contacted some marketers. Is that the
Yes. So because it's a small press, they don't put it on NetGalley. So they recommend NetGalley in itself can be very expensive, which is it's a good site that a lot of people do reviews on and libraries look at it and whatnot. And so we found NetGalley has partners that they use that you can get for like a discount. So we did BookBuzz, and they had a package that we paid for where it was 3 months on NetGalley. They would do 20 different blog tours for you. They gave us different aesthetic pictures that we could use on social media for promotion and all that kind of stuff. And so we purchased that and got it on NetGalley, and we've had quite a number of reviews from NetGalley. And they'll say it on the review thing, we got it from NetGalley kind of thing. And it's been very, very beneficial. And then we also did Espresso Tours where they did a book blast, and they got 20 different blogs, and we were able to promote our book on those blogs, and it goes out over the next few weeks. And so that was our big push that we did for our marketing. Mm-hmm. And we've done every free thing you can find, because they have a list of free things. Like these people will list your, advertise your book for free for a day, or do an interview for free, or what have you. Yeah. And we've done every single one of those we can find.
Yes.
And how did you get to Mesa?
So I was like Jared, I went to ASU. And so I have lived here since 93. And so this is where I am. And
why did I think you were in Seattle?
Oh, we visit Seattle all the time. Every year, just like Molly says, we hike the Olympic National Park. So we love Seattle, and we love all of hiking in Washington and all that stuff. So because we've been there every year for the past like 14 years together, we know it pretty well. So we like to feature it as a place because we know it a lot.
And what about New York? How often have you been here?
I've only been there a handful of times.
I've been there once.
Yeah, she's been there once, like 5 times. But it's always so full of energy, and it's such a great...
Well, no, the reason I ask is almost all of my books are set in New York.
Yes.
Obviously,
well, the reason why
not Jane Austen's, but
yeah.
We wanted Jared to live far away from where Molly was. We wanted to pick the East Coast, and so we ended up picking somewhere where we had both been and were somewhat familiar with from the time that we'd spent there. So.
Yeah, and that if you needed to like Google something, there's a
lot.
I
know. I look. As I recall, in an early version, it was you had like a crazy scenario of someone going to the airport, and I said, "That's
yes." And you corrected all of that for us.
We appreciate
that. And I get that. Look, I get that from. I just walked someone through in a story how to get to Yankee Stadium from the Upper West Side, what subways to take to get there, because she had no idea.
Yeah.
So but having said that, I didn't say. I have seen books where I've said, this person has no idea what they're talking about. I did not say that for a moment in your book, but I did get the sense that there was a real connection with Seattle, which may explain why I thought you actually lived there. But it comes through, and it's a good point that the location can be significant in terms of getting a feel as an additional character. And, I'm not, Vegas is so artificial, and I think that was one of the points of the book. But there was much more of a connection with Seattle and the area around Seattle. And for Jared to be coming as an active guy to going and enjoying what was going on in Seattle, that really worked as well. So I'm complimenting you on that. And that's what, I thought you lived in Seattle. So
yeah, no, ironically, my parents live in Las Vegas. So
okay. strike
So,
whatever
no,
nasty
no, no.
things I
I,
said.
I agree with you on the fakeness. I agree with you on the fakeness, but it
Uh,
worked for a place that we've both been, and it worked.
No, but it was also intended, I think, this was
Yes,
It worked well
my
for a
idea
fake
part was
situation as well.
it was it was a kind of a fake romance.
exactly. So
A fake location kind of made
exactly.
a lot of sense. And also be the two characters, one from New York, one from Seattle, kind of a neutral location
Yes.
that had a lot of various things going on. So you didn't go like, okay, what are we doing tomorrow? What are we doing the next day? There are only so many things you can do in New York or Seattle. So that worked. But I enjoyed that part of it.
Thank you.
So you're now on your tour. How has the book been doing?
As far as we know, pretty well. Because it goes with the Wild Rose Press, they have quarters, so the quarter doesn't end until the end of December, and so we won't actually get sales information until
Okay.
January. So we said, but
Well, I'm rather pleased. I just got a statement from Drafted Digital. I made 22 cents last month on all my books at Drafted Digital, so I'm
hey,
thrilled about
that's
having
right.
that
I
one
know
sale.
anything is better than nothing.
Yeah.
Yes.
We know that we sold at the Mesa Book Festival where we sold 29 copies, which we thought was a good day. So
Yes.
that was very exciting. We know we have over 40 ratings on Goodreads kind of thing. Not everybody's gone on to Amazon yet, which we hope they will
Yeah.
and leave them there.
Like on Goodreads, we're like,
But-
what, 4.8 was it?
It was 4.5.
4.5 now.
4.5 on Goodreads. So our success is all right. If people are liking it, that's how we feel it's successful. It was good. It's not
Yes.
just us believing that it's good.
No, I understand that. It's
Mhm.
getting that feedback
Right.
of people who are responding positively to the book. I've responded positively for the book.
We even had and she had gotten the book off NetGalley, wrote it a great review, tagged us on social media. It turns out she lives in Arizona and she came to meet us at
Yes.
the book fair to buy a copy. So that's how we're like, that's our success for us. Like,
Okay, no, that's
Yeah.
you know,
Somebody wanted to
and
meet
you
us.
like
Yeah.
you've read it and then you bought a copy. That's huge.
well,
success.
I'll be honest that I'm not a person who finishes every book I begin.
Yeah.
I recently had a book that I stopped after 2 pages.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Yes, and it was a well-regarded, highly reviewed book in the Times, and it was just like enough going. My view tends to be, I don't want to suffer through the rest of this book. I mean, I
Yes.
hate to say, I've never been able to get through Middlemarch, and I've never been able to get through Moby Dick, and I'm not going to schlep through a
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
And that's
Worth
what the point about a book that however familiar the trope may be, the quality of the writing is what carries it. And I felt the quality of your writing was such that I just went straight through it both times.
Oh, appreciate that.
And so I think that's what makes it stand out, and that's why someone who's interested in a romance should go out and buy the thing.
Thank you.
But so that's a lot of books I don't get very far in,
Mhm.
but yours I did, and I enjoyed it, and that's where we stand. So do you have anything else? The clock runs down.
Book 2 will be out next summer. We don't have a release date yet. We'll probably receive a release date early.
Now, what is it? What is it related at all to this one, or completely different?
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
So
You can read the books independently, but they are a
They are a
series too.
series.
So
yes. So at the end of the book, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but you've read it. So at the end of the book, Molly has to cancel a date with somebody, and that's Jensen, and it's his book, and it's a story for Jensen.
So, but it
So
will be
continues from there,
it will
yeah.
be a standalone.
It will be a
Yeah.
standalone.
Okay.
It
I've done.
makes
I did.
references to
I
the
did
first.
I actually pulled a line out of my first Gilded Age novel, a single sentence, and I said, okay, and I used that sentence to build a second novel, which
Yeah.
actually in time began before the end of this first novel, and then the final scene of the first novel was sufficiently significant that it appeared in the newspaper. So my characters in the second novel learn about it by reading the newspaper in a cafe on Lafayette Street, and then
wow.
that way we're able to find what happens to some of the characters in the first novel, because you have this feeling of I want to know what happened to them. I want to know what
Yeah.
happened.
Yes.
We're just about out of time.
Yep.
I appreciate you taking it, enjoying the 70-degree weather.
Yes. Thank you.
And anything I want to add before I get cut off here?
No, thank you. I just want to thank you, Joe. You've been a great support through all of this. And if people aren't following you, they should, because you are an amazing addition to the writing community and you write fantastic books. I've loved them. I had a great view of New York back in the day. So
Okay, I
thank you.
appreciate it. I thank you. And
Thank
so
you.
everyone buy the book. It's worth buying. Okay,
Buy the
thanks,
book. It is.
guys. And the
Thank you.
follow-up.
Yes,
Yes.
and a follow up next year.
Bye.
Bye, Joe.